Welcome back to Turkish series Stars, the place where we unravel the quiet truths hiding behind the brightest lights in Turkey's entertainment world. Before we step into today's heart-tugging turn of events, make sure you're subscribed and tap that join button to support the channel. Tonight's story moves on a current of pride kept too long, words left unsaid, and the fragile bravery it takes to open the door to love one more time. For days that began to feel like months, whispers drifted across social platforms, soft, uncertain, yet persistent enough to keep hope breathing. A single image sparked it all. Shared without caption frenzy or dramatic flair, it came from Alina. The photo felt like a window opened just a few centimeters, enough for a breeze of meaning to slip through. She wrote a single reflective line, not naming names, not pointing fingers, not attaching a timeline. It read like the echo of a feeling she had been resisting. She suggested that silence can carry a weight that words often drop. She let the sentiment hang there, and the internet took a collective breath. Followers didn't need the dots connected, they drew the lines themselves. In an instant, timelines filled with a familiar name spoken with new tenderness, Navruz. People who once watched Alina and Alp stride through premieres with easy poise and a shared kind of humor now believed the door they once closed might be nudging itself open. Fans pulled clips from archived interviews and slowed them down, studying the exchanges where eyes seemed to answer questions before lips did. They noticed careful acknowledgments of each other's achievements, likes turning up on old photos with a restraint that almost made the gesture louder. And then came the most telling reports of all. Quiet sightings around corners of the city where anonymity usually wins, coffee takeout bags in hand, brief glances exchanged across the lobby of a studio, and a car parked just far enough from a building to be polite, yet near enough to be noticed by those who know what to look for. But the most surprising piece of this story arrived not through a post or a paparazzi lens, but from a place rarely touched by flashbulbs. The whisper did not come from a social media manager or a mutual friend. It came, according to a trusted family source, from Alp's father, a man known for his calm distance from everything beyond his own home and the quiet rhythms of his life. What happened next is described by those close enough to hear the shape of it: a private phone call, a meeting without fanfare, a conversation that wasn't about fame, headlines, or expectations. It was a father talking to his son, not to the actor the world thinks it knows. He reminded Alp of simple truths that feel heavier as we grow older, that the heart is not a guest house for visitors who drift in and out with the seasons, that self-protection can sometimes resemble pride dressed up in caution, and that watching genuine joy slip away a second time may be harder than risking the first step toward repair. He told him he had seen what contentment looked like on his son's face and he had recognized the shadow that took its place when Alina was no longer there. He didn't insist. He didn't command. He offered a mirror. Those present say Alp said little in return. He let the silence stand where answers should have been. But that quiet, like the one in Alina's post, was full, not empty. Hours later, at dusk, a few neighbors noticed him by the entrance to the building where Alina lives. Hat brim lowered. Sunglasses after sunset. The kind of disguise that draws the eye precisely because it tries not to. In one hand, a small bouquet wrapped in paper rather than plastic, a detail that felt almost old-fashioned. He waited by the door buzzer, checked his phone, looked up at the windows, and waited again. No one can agree on whether he went inside as a friend seeking forgiveness or as a man ready to admit what he could no longer deny. The one thing everyone agrees on is the pulse of nerves in his posture, the quiet hope in the way he didn't leave. By morning, Alina posted once more. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't a denial. It read like a continuation of an unfinished line. She wrote that sometimes a heart's rhythm returns not because it stopped, but because it refused to stop even when the world moved on. It sounded like acceptance wrapped in caution. It sounded like someone who has learned the cost of public affection and prefers to protect the fragile beginning of something from the wind. The internet did not keep calm. Articles burst onto homepages. Comment sections filled with sentences that doubled as prayers. a reporter managed to catch Alp outside a studio later that day. He is known for steering questions back to his work, for letting personal matters stay exactly that. But this time he offered a sentence with enough weight to anchor 1,000 interpretations. He said that sometimes we forget what matters until a quiet voice reminds us, and the reminder keeps echoing until we choose to listen. Meanwhile, Alina faced the cameras at a charity gala. The microphones leaned in, eager, almost impatient. She smiled in that graceful way that says she has more to give than she will ever reveal to strangers. Then she offered a line that lit up timelines without giving away a plan. Some dialogues repair what passing time alone can't. Some people do not exit our lives so much as step into another room and wait for us to open the door. As the excitement swelled, something else unfolded. The phrase Alp and Alina again began appearing everywhere, not as a rumor but as a collective wish. It drifted from fan pages to trending lists, from private chats to smash-cut discussion panels. Yet this time, another voice stepped gently into the conversation. A friend of the Boz family shared that Alina's mother had told her daughter to listen with courage rather than defensiveness. If someone returns with humility instead of ego, perhaps an interrupted love deserves a chance to finish the sentence it began. Not every farewell is written in permanent ink. Days passed, and with them the city sighed under a sky stretched thin with late-night lights. On the outskirts, in a small restaurant that prefers hushed conversations to loud spectacle, the two arrived, without managers, without friends, without the safety net of a crowd. A waiter described the moment in the way people do when they have brushed against something tender and don't want to bruise it with too many words. He remembered the way they laughed softly at the same time, the way they placed familiar orders without glancing at the menu. Mint tea for her, lentil soup for him, a habit from other evenings in another season, and the way their eyes did not wander, as if this table were the only place on earth worth looking at. He spoke of it carefully, protective, like someone guarding a candle from the wind. Neither released a statement. No joint photo followed. Instead, Alp posted an image of a midnight sky speckled with patient stars and wrote that sometimes we choose with our thoughts, but at the end of the night the heart votes too, and its count refuses to be discounted. Not long after, Alina shared her own quiet message. Some hearts learn to keep time together even when no music is playing. The audiences who have watched them grow, falter, shine, and retreat did not need more. Television panels argued gently over definitions. Was this reconciliation or careful rediscovery? Was it a reunion or a truce? Commentators praised the presence of family bonds guiding them with steadier hands than any publicist could manage. Love, one host suggested, is not just built by the two who meet in the middle, sometimes it is steadied by those who stand just behind them, making sure the ground does not tilt. Then came a moment few expected. Alp sat down for a thoughtful cultural podcast known for coaxing honesty out of guarded guests. He did not present himself as a heartthrob or as a mystery to be solved. He showed up as a person trying to be fair to the truth inside him. He admitted that we can dodge responsibilities, avoid certain streets, mute reminders that sting, even convince ourselves we have crossed a bridge and burned it behind us, but when love has rooted itself in your life, you don't outrun it. You circle it until you are ready to stand still and face what it asks of you. Alina, on a primetime talk show brimming with applause and soft lights, was asked with disarming directness whether a reunion was unfolding. She didn't put a bow on it. She didn't turn it into a slogan. She said that some narratives refuse a neat full stop. Life places 3 quiet dots where we thought we had written the end and hands us the pen again. The audience answered with warmth that felt like relief. As certainty began to replace rumor, a different clarity appeared. Whether their steps lead them back into the same rhythm or into a kinder friendship than the one silence offers, they have already moved something in the people watching. You can feel it in the comments that read like letters. You can see it in the way strangers root for 2 people they might never meet. They are walking carefully, away from the gasps and the boom of flash, yet surrounded by a sea of hearts willing them not to stumble. And still, the details that matter most live in private. The message from a father who has seen enough seasons to know which storms pass and which must be walked through. The prayer of a mother who wants her child to choose not from fear but from steadiness. The post that didn't name names because it didn't have to. The flowers wrapped in paper. The door that opened. The tea that arrived steaming. The soup that tasted the same as it did the last time. The shared glance that said more than any public vow can hold. If you listen closely, you can hear the cadence of two people trying to be brave in a world that rewards swiftness more than sincerity. The bravest thing isn't declaring a comeback, it's admitting where you went wrong and trusting that the person across from you is doing the same. The bravest thing isn't a grand gesture. It's walking back, step by careful step, into a room you left because you were scared, not because you were finished. On the edges of the city, the waiter says he keeps remembering how they held their cups, fingers grazing porcelain, as if warming their hands and their courage in the same moment. He says they left a little later than expected and thanked him with the kind of politeness that lingers. He says he hopes, for reasons he can't fully explain, that they get to write the chapter they didn't get to write the first time. Somewhere else, a podcast host replays Alp's line about circling what we fear, and a talk show audience smiles again at Alina's gentle ellipses. Somewhere in between, a father looks at his son and knows that the most important words were spoken not on a stage but in a room with no one watching. And a mother breathes easier because the decision, whatever it becomes, is being made with tenderness rather than stubbornness. So where are we now? At a crossroad that does not demand a dramatic choice, only a true one. Perhaps they will give this another name besides reunion, renewal, maybe, or repair. Perhaps they will guard it with small moments and soft voices. Maybe the internet will get fewer pictures and more silence, and the silence will finally be understood for what it is. A shelter instead of a storm. Before we close this emotional chapter here on Turkish series Stars, we want to hear from you. Do you believe Alina and Alp Navruz are ready to stitch their story back together? Can a second chance not only mend the torn parts but make the fabric stronger? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters more than ever to this community. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap join to support the channel as we continue bringing you moments that surprise, move, and make you believe. Stay close, because some love stories keep their pulse steady even when the world is ready to call them over, and that soft, steady heartbeat can be the most honest sound of all.